back, everyone, to Keeping Up with the Pack. I'm here with a special crew today. Of course, we got my man Austin, my co-host as always. But today we got a special guest. I like to call this episode the Presidential Alert. Now, this isn't going to be some type of crazy announcement going on today, but we got the man, the face of Northwood today in our studio. So it's special that we kind of give it that type of serving. And today, I just want to ask to kick it off. President Macdonald, how are you doing?
Good, DeLorean. Look, we have to get Mary Ellen to hear that introduction. That was awesome.
Yeah,
Oh,
man.
good. Good. It's great to be here and having an opportunity to talk with you and your audience. And yeah, look forward to the next few minutes.
Yeah, no, definitely. And like I wanted to say earlier, me and President McDonald and Austin, we actually all came into Northwood together in the fall of 2019. As we know, I'm getting ready to walk the stage in May, but President McDonald, he's gonna be here long after I'm gone. And
That's
he
right.
was actually the one who gave the show the green light to start the Keeping Up with the Pack. So the first question I want to ask is if you were able to catch an episode or two yet, or just
Sure.
see it in passing, what do you think about the show Keeping Up with the Pack? And do you think it's showing off some of the things that Northwood has to offer?
Well, it is. In fact, I have to thank both of you for taking it on, as if your schedule isn't busy enough.
True.
The early thought of the program was um, communication to celebrate all the things that are happening on campus. And it's one thing for me or the communications department, faculty, and staff to talk about what's happening and celebrate it, but it's a different perspective when students are leading it. So that's one piece. Number two is, as both of you know, learning doesn't really take place that well in this artificial thing we call the classroom.
Yeah.
Everything we know about learning tells us you have to get out, roll your sleeves up, and get your hands dirty and actually apply what you've learned in a classroom. And the fact that you've taken this on, there's obviously leadership opportunities, but from a communications marketing point of view, it's been fantastic, and I
Mhm.
have watched various shows, and I just have to thank both of you for doing it. I'm excited to see what happens this semester, and continuing to try to uh, just to get the message out to different people.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm. And going forward, like you said, we're getting the message out to different people. I know one of the big things when I remember we had a conversation back in 2019, and it led to the Aspire Fund
Yeah.
being started and initiated. I wanted to ask and go back to that with this about, do you think that a scholarship like that is helping show the fact that Northwood wants to keep kids in school, wants to benefit the students and the student body, but then also just showing that we like to find ways to, like I said, keep kids coming back to school. I know with the Aspire Fund, we made it so that kids could actually have opportunity if they aren't able to keep paying for school. We're giving them this scholarship so they could stay here. I just want to ask, with a show like Keeping Up with the Pack, how do you feel Northwood shows this ability to want to keep kids here and keep them learning, like as you said?
Well, DeLorean, I remember that fall. It was December 2019, remember?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you came in my office and we had a conversation, and it was heartbreaking, to hear that we have this vibrant, wonderful student thinking he might not come back.
Yeah.
And the video we ended up putting together told the story. And what I became really clear is that we will lose students for a very small amount of money,
Yeah.
you know. And that actually led us to say, okay, we have to do more.
Mhm.
So there's a whole lot of layers to answering your question. Number one is, um, what do we think about Northwood and the importance of graduating students like both of you,
Mhm.
who believe in free enterprise, who believe that, as you've demonstrated in this show, that you can actually do things on your own. You don't need to wait for someone in government to kind of give you the green light. You can
Mhm.
actually do it yourself. And so I think the world needs more Northwood students right now. So
Mhm.
if you believe in that fundamental premise, then we have to ask the question, how do we attract students to want to come to this beautiful, place like Midland? And
Mm-hmm.
what do we need to do to make sure that when they get here, they're going to stay through graduation? It's no good for a student to come for a year or two. In fact, if you don't leave here with a credential, you really don't get that much further ahead than if you have a high school diploma.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so the Aspire Fund and a whole wide variety of other scholarship ideas and that we're putting together, I would say that it's my number one priority. Look, the academics take care of themselves.
Yeah.
We've got great finance people, operations are good, but we need to make sure that we find ways to get more people like both of you who represent the state of Michigan in terms of their backgrounds
Mm-hmm.
and who they are from a diversity point of view. And I think we're doing that.
Yeah.
Well, just based on that, I know you mentioned that DeLo came right into your office about the Inspire Fund. You
Yeah.
said December of 2019.
Yeah.
I mean, DeLo was a freshman
He
at
was.
that time, and he's walking into the president's office and saying, "I want to set this up." And
Yeah.
that takes initiative. And I know there's a lot of students here on campus who have those wonderful ideas. And the idea of walking into the president's office with an idea can be intimidating.
Yeah.
So, like, what would you say to students on campus who have these great ideas that are created in this atmosphere that we developed here at Northwood? How do they make those real things, and what steps can they do to be the next Keeping Up with the Pack or create the next Inspire Fund?
Look, we can't compete with the deep pockets of these rich, wonderful, but taxpayer-funded universities.
True.
Right.
We don't have those deep pockets. Where we can differentiate ourselves is celebrating being small, getting for our students to get to know who I am. And
Right.
as you know, I get to know students on the very first day when I welcome them on campus.
Right.
And for the students not to be numbers on our campus, that they get to know their faculty. They're not being taught by TAs, they're being
Right.
taught by professors. And we have staff who wake up every day who want to see our students succeed. So there's a couple of things. Number one is to have the courage and initiative to say, hey, I've got this great idea
Mm-hmm.
and I want to run it by somebody. And whether it's a new business coming here to the Idea Center, going to a professor who actually have real experience
Right.
in the
Yeah.
business. So they're not
course.
theorists. They know theory, but they can actually say, here's how I did it when I was in a business.
Right.
So go to them, go to staff and faculty, and look, being a president sometimes get lonely. So having like DeLorean did was come into my office and say, just share their story. So show initiative, practice what we preach over and over in
Mhm.
terms of personal responsibility.
Of
You don't
course.
have to wait for someone to kind of give you the green light. Take the initiative. That's how people get ahead in life. And so those would be some of the things that I would recommend is just act on the impulse, because too many times we're programmed in life today through a negative lens.
Mhm.
So for example, finish this sentence for me. Don't bite off,
More
More
than you
than
can
you can
chew.
chew.
right? Yeah, or leap before, or jump. What's it? Leap before.
Is it jump before you leap?
You-
Or no.
Oh,
Is it
don't
think?
jump
Oh,
before you
I
leap.
think it's
Something like All right.
I know what you're trying to say though, but I don't know exactly how it goes. But I think it's think before you jump. It's
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah.
Like just
Yeah.
don't always just take.
We
a
don't know it
hey.
because we try to get that negative thinking out of our mind, DeLorean.
Absolutely.
See that?
Yeah, like I said, man, we let go of the bad memories quick. We move on to
Right.
the future.
But if you actually look through literature and slogans and taglines and things, we are wired with a negative perspective,
Yeah.
and uh, we have to get over that. And particularly when you're young as students, you know, what do you really have to risk? Well, a secondhand television and a computer in terms of the
Right.
assets you've accumulated.
Yeah.
Now is the time to take the risk. So whether it's in business or an idea at Northwood, we want you to share them because there's someone ready to be a champion for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that I've thought a lot about in my life is like, let's say I want to take 5 years of my life right now and commit it to a business, and in 5 years it doesn't work and it fails. And then I look around and it's like, so what? I'm 27. Like
Austin?
I still have so much time that I could operate on that.
Look, you're going to live to 100. Your generation. There's a
Probably,
great book
yeah.
called The 100-Year Life. You're going to live to, unless a devastating, tragic
yeah,
event
right.
to be will occur. You have a lot of runway.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, so now is exactly the time. And I can tell you, even if it doesn't work out, you're going to learn some really amazing things that
Right,
that can
absolutely.
help you
Yeah.
later on. I was part of 2 startups myself. Neither of them were particularly successful, but even those experiences guides me not on a day-to-day basis, but how I view the world, and certainly how I treasure people who have the courage to start their own company.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Like 1/3 of Northwood graduates.
Yeah.
Definitely, definitely. And that's a stat that you really don't hear that much from other schools. But I
Well,
mean, when you got a business school like this, like you said, with the professors, one of the biggest thing I do really love about Northwood is that all the professors have real world experience. Like some of them are even still working. Like a lot of the professors at Northwood are still doing full-time jobs on the side with the industry they're teaching. So it just makes it so much easier to get that experience. And really the biggest thing I feel like that Northwood offers that we don't talk about as much, but we say it's networking. Like
yeah,
everybody at Northwood knows somebody who knows somebody.
yeah,
And that's just one of the biggest things I feel like if you only stay at Northwood, I remember you saying for the 1 or 2 years, you don't really get the credentials of really being a Northwood student.
yeah,
But if you really see those 4 years out, you make so many connections
yeah,
that just help you so much after graduation that it's just insane. It's
yeah.
just insane. But to my next question I wanted to ask was just recently I saw something that said the Macomb student credits, they'll transfer over to Northwood.
Mhm.
So I was trying to ask, would that honestly make it easy? Because I know a lot of people, especially from my family, they like to really start off at community college.
Yeah,
It's cheaper, and then transfer the credits over to Northwood.
yeah,
I mean, transfer the credits over to a school of any sort,
yeah.
but especially like a bigger, more 4 year bachelor university. So do you feel like with us now opening a portal for these Macomb College credits to transfer to Northwood, do you think it's going to be easier to open the door for enrollment for Northwood?
I do. That's one of the things that we're trying to do. I believe the most rich experience is to come and spend 4 years on our campus.
Mm-hmm.
However, coming to a private university like Northwood, it's expensive, as
It's
you and I
true.
have spoken
Yeah.
about, DeLorean.
It's
And
very much.
and so what's the best alternative to that? Having these agreements with great colleges, Macomb Delta, right here in
Mm,
our area,
Delta.
is
Yeah.
another example. And I recognize that a number of these students that come from Macomb and Delta and others in our state. Um, there's a lot of reasons students go to those colleges.
mm,
Number one is not in order, but sometimes students don't think they're ready for university,
that is
or they
true.
don't have a
Yeah.
background where
Very.
they have been kind of nurtured to go to a university. Sometimes financials play a big role, that they want to stay at home, save money, pay less tuition. So
Mm-hmm.
what are we going to do about that? Well, it's to honor the amazing learning experience that they have at those colleges, and then allow them to transfer as easily as possible at
Mm,
Northwood, or as like I like to say, is make it easy, or specifically get the irritants out of the way.
yes.
Allow them to glide into Northwood, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah.
Expose them to the Northwood idea, these things that we cherish, like free enterprise, limited government,
Mm-hmm.
personal responsibility,
Personal
private
responsibility.
property, and once they're here, do our best to expose them as quickly as we can, so
Mm-hmm.
that they don't feel that they're having a parallel experience.
Yeah.
And that's a real part of the challenge. Is once you're at Northwood, you're a Northwood student, and
Definitely.
so we look forward to seeing those students come to Northwood. We have a great track record. They do extremely well, and they go out and they become champions for what we stand for.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, and then like I know that just enrollment in general was always a big goal of yours, obviously
yeah,
as the president of the university.
right.
What are those are obviously, transfer students that are coming in. What are some things that you guys have started to implement that you're hoping will just increase enrollment in the next coming years in general?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll name a few of them just as
Yeah.
examples. Number one is to address the cost of coming to Northwood. So we are in a campaign right now to dramatically increase the size of our endowment, and that endowment will then produce on an annual basis 4.5 to 5% a financial benefit, and we're putting
Wow.
those dollars
Yeah.
into scholarships for students. So that would be one. Number two is these transfer agreements help. Number three is we had a look at what were the internal processes that we had in place that were actually getting in the way of us accomplishing the very thing we wanted to do.
Right.
And so those were the irritants that I
Oh, yeah.
talked about. So how do we make the application easier? How do we advise students what the cost of attending Northwood is? So our Board of Trustees approved new tuition and fee adjustments in October rather than in the spring
Right.
message. How do we streamline our residence application process and get
Right.
students into residence more quickly so that they say, hey, I'm going to live in Minor or Du Bois, and I've already met my roommate, and guess what? It's only January.
Right.
So some of those things would be another area. And the
Yeah.
big one is to continue to commit to have academic programming that is going to separate ourselves from a number of the schools. And I'll just say this very cautiously. There's a lot of business schools out there. I would best describe them as management schools. They learn about
Yeah.
HR and organizational
That's not a bad
behavior.
take.
It's not a bad thing.
That's not a bad
It's
take
not
at
a
all.
bad thing. What Northwood is different though is all of that plus
Was
um, uh, providing our students a opportunity to truly understand the private sector
yeah.
and small enterprise, medium enterprise.
Yeah.
And so the last thing I'll say is we're going to be announcing, first to hear it on your show.
Oh man, this is an alert.
There's a presidential
This
alert.
is an alert.
We'll take a commercial break right now.
Right now. Hear from our sponsors.
That's right here from our sponsors. No, look, we're going to be launching in the fall a venture fund. We have had a donor come forward. You're going to hear a lot about this in the coming months with a great big number. And that's going to allow us to provide funding for students who have a business idea to actually get money to launch their own companies while they're on our campus. So we talked about it with the trustees at our January meeting, and we're just wrapping things up. You know, Justin Marshall,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Justin's going to be
absolutely.
involved in that as well.
That's a
So
good man.
having
Wow.
our own Northwood Venture Fund, so young entrepreneurs like yourself can say, hey, I could really benefit from $2,000, $5,000, $10,000 to launch my business.
Yeah. No, definitely. And I mean, it seems like a Project 100 3.0,
That's right. That's
like
exactly
taking it
what it
to a
is.
whole nother level.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And you see, you didn't think you'd hear anything new today from me.
No,
Look at
that's what I'm
that.
saying. I said presidential alert, but no, they were like, it might be too much. So I said, all right, presidential, presidential spectacular. But now after that, it's an alert now.
It is.
I mean, this is coming on first. You first heard it first on Keeping Up with the Pack. So now
Enough with the past.
Start getting your pitches ready.
That's
Ready to
right.
win this money,
That's
Timberwolves.
right.
Let's
That's
go.
right.
Definitely,
And
definitely.
go make a difference and not have to rely on taxpayers. And because we can do it. Northwood students have
Yeah.
a 60-year record of going out and actually doing it. So that's
Yeah.
what we want to sustain.
No, definitely. I mean, like even with me myself, I don't see me getting into all the district manager without coming to Northwood. Like I definitely Northwood just really I don't know, I just feel like you guys really help see the big picture. Like I just feel like sometimes when you're at school, you just get caught up in school. Like you kind of don't remember that after these 4 years or maybe 5 to 6, depending on the masters,
Yeah.
that you really have to go work and network and communicate with
That's right.
people. But I feel like Northwood, from the moment after my first semester and I caught the flow of everything, I feel like they were giving me all the elements I needed to succeed here, but then
Yeah.
also after. So
Yeah.
I feel like adding in something like that makes the Project 100 or this venture plan you guys are coming with, I think that's just something that's really going to be great and beautiful on campus because it definitely made me go outside the box me and Austin recently pitched, and even though it didn't win, it was just the fact that we had that experience to do it, and
Right.
that's something you're going to do normally in business anyway.
That's right. It's all part of everything. Again, that we know about learning, you do it best by actually applying it in the
Applying,
real
right.
world. And it's this and other experiences. Remember the first time you got on a plane? Remember?
I feel
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
it
it was
every single time I
California,
get on
wasn't
a
it?
Yeah, it was
We
with the
went
mock trial
to
team.
mock trial. That's right.
Yeah.
But what you've both done with mock, I mean, and competed at the highest level,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Not just
Yeah.
it wasn't just to be there. It was there to
Yeah,
win and
Compete,
compete.
absolutely.
make a
And it
national
shows that you
name.
can do that at a small school with great students and obviously a great leader.
Yeah, Professor Lee Part. Yeah.
She's amazing.
Yeah, no, that's like
Amazing.
the Nick Saban of a mock trial right there.
A
I'm not playing.
literal already a Hall of Famer, like
Yeah,
actual inducted into the Hall of Fame of mock trial. So
Right.
yeah,
While
yeah,
still playing the game,
yeah,
if you will.
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah,
No, we're so
yeah,
lucky with
yeah.
Professor Leapart and other faculty that
Yeah.
we
yeah,
have here.
absolutely.
No,
Yeah.
certainly, certainly.
Yeah.
And I know we've been asking you a lot of questions so far. So now I just want to ask you, since you came here in 2019 along with us, what is one of the biggest things that you are happy that you kind of put your hands on and change and you can just see like, man, I'm happy to see this growth here. Like, is there one area that you're just really happy that you were able to make an effect on already as of now?
Uh, I'll say three brief things. We were the only university in the history of the universe to survive a 500-year flood and
Oh
a
yeah,
100-year
wow.
Mm-hmm.
pandemic, right?
Yeah,
And we did it,
Oh.
and we did it proudly, and we kept our doors open. Students, faculty, staff performed way beyond, I would
Mm-hmm.
say, what we would experience at most universities. So I'm proud. I never had one complaint that we were going to stay open and work our way through that.
Yeah.
So that's something that I'm pleased with. Number two, we have to be a different school.
Yeah.
As you both know, as young business leaders, if you look and feel the same as someone else, that you'll end up losing that battle, particularly where they're fully funded universities. So how are we going to be different? And it was something that we launched called the President's Review and Renew of the Northwood Idea,
Mm.
this differentiating aspect of who we are as an institution that started in 1959 based on the pressures of the day, Sputnik and communism and
Mm-hmm.
socialism. And so we put a group together with faculty and staff and students and alumni, trustees to say, how are we going to do things differently? And they came up and presented to me and the board 15 different recommendations, and I think that they will make a significant difference. You know, this welcoming institution that believes in the power of individuals.
Yeah.
So that'd be the second one. The third one would be I will be long gone from Northwood before it truly accrues the benefits
Right.
of our current campaign to increase our endowment. Look, presidents have an insatiable appetite to open new buildings. And I see across the country, you know, universities competing on who's going to have the biggest climbing wall. There are universities who are putting in lazy rivers. That's not who we are.
Yeah,
yeah, no,
not the
And
Northwood idea.
so increasing our endowment to make Northwood more affordable through
Mm-hmm.
scholarships, and then creating funds to hire really good faculty, more really good faculty.
Yeah.
Those two things will take some time until we see the real benefits. Um, but I think in the end, by the time we hit our 70th anniversary or 75th, and we have these great graduates going out, and we have
Mm-hmm.
attracted great professors, it will be a benefit to Northwood. So those would be the three things: the flood and the pandemic, how we handled it,
Yeah.
the Northwood idea, and then establishing this, growing our endowment significantly.
That's a nice list. That's a
Yeah.
nice list.
yeah. I just wanted to take a moment to really, shine some light on how you handled that flood and pandemic situation. I know I was living, I mean, 2 blocks from here, right on Townsend Street when it happened. We could
Right.
see the water from my
Wasn't it
bedroom
amazing?
window.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people, it's because it happened during the summer, so
Yeah.
people weren't here on campus. And I don't think a lot of people appreciate the gravity of that
Mm.
situation. I mean, it
Mhm.
was a natural disaster. People were
Yeah.
losing their homes.
Yeah.
People were unable to get access to food and clean water. And the way that Northwood not only responded in our own capability, but within the community and
Yeah.
helping people and just trying to make sure that Northwood isn't just looked at as a school that has a bunch of college kids in this beautiful town of Midland. You know, we looked at it as a resource to Midland. And I think that your involvement in the community and your assertiveness in making sure that that was handled correctly, to the point where a lot of students here didn't even really understand that it was a thing. By the time they came back, it was also cleaned up. There were a couple hallways that were blocked off, but that's all that changed to them. And that was due to your leadership in that situation and your ability to handle that. So I just wanted to make sure you got your flowers on that situation.
I'll catch that bouquet. And so, but I'm glad you raised it, because if you were just over here, I mean, you saw the water come right up to the bottom of the streets behind us here. I'll tell you the moment that I had an amazing sense of how different Northwood was. I think it was the second day after the flood. I was in a boat with a reporter, and we were looking down from the boat at a car underwater in our back parking lot. That's how much water.
Aiden Garvey's car, a little shout out there.
There you go.
We know the owner of the car.
We do. And he bought the same car again.
Did he?
Funny little fact there.
Yeah. Okay. So that's good for Aiden. So she turned to me and she said, "Well, what are you going to do?" And I said to her, not expecting that question, we have 100 days to get this university ready for our students, and because they're coming back. And this was, again, in the middle of COVID, when a lot of universities already declared, no, you're not coming back on campus. So we said, we are going to open, and 100 days later we did. And to see about a week in, we had hundreds of students. Remember, they were all home because the governor sent them home. Staff, faculty, alumni coming onto our campus, tearing out drywall, ripping up the old gymnasium. I mean, you saw the devastation. And we cleaned the place up, and we were ready, and I'm so proud. And what did this amazing city of Midland do? While there were lots of university towns kind of shying away from, don't bring students back here, they'll bring COVID.
Right.
This university had signs up on people's lawns and business lawns welcoming Northwood students back to this community. That is not normal, right? So when you put all of that together, and I think it goes back to this again, the greatest part of the Northwood idea, I think, is personal responsibility, and the fact that our faculty, staff, students show it, demonstrate it, and the fact that we're in a city that understands it and celebrates it. It was a remarkable success for everyone, and we did open. And in fact, we had an increase in enrollment that year because although we recommended the vaccine and wearing masks and putting a lot of effort into PPE and making sure the campus was ready, we didn't mandate things. We said, you are going to make the decision for yourself. And we had people, and we had students transfer who said, I just want to make the choice. I've done it. I've had a vaccine. I've worn my mask, but I just don't need to be told every part of my life how to behave.
Yeah, and that was a huge part of it that I think, there was some national news coverage on that, and Northwood wasn't shined in the greatest light. But what I think they didn't understand was the circumstances surrounding it, because it wasn't like Northwood students were coming and just everyone was saying, we're not getting the vaccine, we're not going to wear masks, and we're going to be reckless. The students still, I know DeLo and I are both vaccinated. We still wear, we wore masks that year and still did the things even though they weren't mandated. It was just that personal respect of like, this is your decision, your health, you need to handle it your way. And when giving the chance, it shows, like it does in American politics anyway. People are going to make the right decision. They're going to make the responsible decision. I just don't like being told to do it. I'm going to do that anyway. It's like your mom telling you to do the dishes while you were doing the dishes. It's like, I'm already doing that.
You either believe in the spirit of people to make the right decisions, or you prefer to live in a granny state where someone in an office building in a capital believes they can make the better decision for you. And we proved, our students proved they could do exactly that. They were responsible, and they shone. And look, I say this, and people say you can't say that, but when I say I love our students, it's because they are a shining light. And when people talk about, young people today, and they start naming all of these things, I quickly say, come visit Northwood. You have to check out Northwood students.
Yeah.
You say that.
Yeah, I do. And yeah. So thanks. I appreciate you saying
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
No.
Thank you for giving
Yeah.
us the opportunities that
Yeah.
year. I know that was my first year going to a national championship in mock trial, and if we'd have shut down, that wouldn't have happened.
That's
So,
right. That's right.
Definitely. And just before we go, I just want to ask, as you know, like I said, I'm graduating in May and I'm about to be an alumni now, not
I
a student
know, I
anymore.
know.
So
Yeah.
just in my own experiences, I'm not gonna lie, a lot of the alumni did help out, but then I feel like it could still even be more that can
Yeah.
help out and more that can give back and more that can spread the Northwood idea, even help out with enrollment. So
Yeah.
as I go to walk across the stage in May and then turn into an alumni of Northwood University, I just want to ask, what are ways that I can give back to help with our enrollment and then also even diversifying our campus. And then even after, like I said, I'm gone. Yeah, I guess just really after I'm gone, what are ways that a person like DeLorean can just give back to the university as being an alumni?
So, all of us are at different points in our life,
Mm-hmm.
and you know that next year will be a different year than in 10 years for you or 20 years for you.
Yeah.
Um, and so when I think about how people can give, you'll often hear this phrase of time, talent, and treasure.
Mm-hmm.
And so 1 year out, DeLorean, you're going to be in a difficult position to give a lot of treasure because
Yeah.
you're trying to get your career going and buy a home and all of
Yeah.
those things. Um, but you have time and talent, and you are able then to give back in that way. So I want to walk across the campus and see a community of people who believe in the Northwood idea, who look and feel like this amazing country, in
Mm-hmm.
terms of their financial backgrounds, their race, their religion, that Northwood should be the most welcoming campus in America
Mm-hmm.
for young people, and you going back, to Detroit, for example,
Yeah.
and speaking about how this place maybe changed your life, and
It
that
did.
if they wanted a different type of experience, they owe it to themselves to take a trip up to Northwood, to go across that Saginaw Bridge like your mom did. Remember?
Yeah, she was scared.
I know she was scared.
Yeah, the water on both
That's right.
sides.
Yeah.
It
No,
was a
she,
lot. It was
yeah.
a lot for
I
her.
know she was amazing. I can't wait to see her at grad. And uh, so just to spread the word.
Yeah.
And
Word of mouth.
yeah, and when you guys get more experiences under your belt, to come back
Yeah.
and talk to students and share your stories, and when there's a young person who thinks about, I don't know if I can do it, I don't have the money, this is hard. You've got a great story to tell. You've got a great story to tell, and how you have the opportunity to become, be part of something like this, to join one of America's great mock trial teams, to play varsity sport,
Mm-hmm.
to it just goes on and on. And so yeah, just asking Northwood alum to continue to give in the way that it's possible for them to
Mm-hmm.
actually give back to us,
Yeah.
and quite frankly, it does include treasure at the right time, uh, because as you know, we don't take government funds,
Yeah.
and we rely on our alumni, and we have a remarkable record of people giving back. You're going to hear, this is another breakthrough moment for this publication.
Pay attention.
Is that
Alert.
you're going to hear over the next couple months some amazing gifts coming to Northwood, people who care about us,
Yeah.
including the largest gift ever in the history of Northwood that we'll be announcing that. And these are people who look back over their careers and say, it all started, by the seed that was planted when I was at Northwood, and I've gone on to do well in my life, and now it's time to pay it forward,
Yeah.
and so that the next generation of young leaders are able to attend Northwood. So, time, talent, and treasure is what I would ask. And if you know somebody who you think believes in the Northwood idea, it might be, a captain of a team. It might be a mock trial member. It could be someone who competes in DECA. It could be someone who just seemed different when they were taking groceries out to your car.
Mhm.
And you say, hey, young person, what do you have planned? And when they tell you, I hope that all alumni would say, before you make your decision, you owe it to yourself to go spend some time in Midland and walk on our campus, because it's a place that can change your life. And if we could have all alumni, 60,000 of them, I mean, imagine there's an amazing world-class school not far from here that has 60,000 students right now on their campus. That's how many alum that we have had in our history.
Yeah.
So that's the scope of the challenge, and so we will do it by word of mouth and telling stories, and because Northwood's a remarkable place.
No, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
I agree.
And man, that's all it from you, Austin.
Yeah,
Man,
I mean, I
like,
can't ask anything more of
I'm gonna
that.
say, man, that was a lot more than I expected, and it was great. And before I close off, I just want to ask, there any other any closeout topics that you have? Any can
Message you want to send to the
Yeah.
student body, anything.
It's always important to look before you leap.
Are we right on that?
I figured it out.
Okay.
No, it's not.
Okay. All right.
No, look, I just think our students are amazing.
Yeah.
And I had a student come see me today. In fact, he knocked on my door, and he's an international student, and he from India, and he just wanted to drop in. And look, the work is busy, but it's a highlight where you can kind of push the work aside and
Yeah.
have a chance to hear directly from a student. So yeah, keep plugging. It's a great school. We love our students, and look forward to seeing them on our beautiful campus.
Go Mad.
Go
Yeah.
Mad.
Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in, whether you were alumni, a student, a prospective student, or just somebody who's looking to learn about Northwood. We really hope that this little spectacular episode we had with the president really showed you more about the Northwood idea and what we have to offer here. We're a school looking to accept everyone and people with the Northwood idea, looking for a free enterprise thinking and trying to just learn on their own and their own free possibility and will. So we hope you guys had a great day, and we're out.